So as we know, Borderlands 3 is officially releasing September 13th. It is literally right around the corner, and I'm excited to be diving into the adventure. I am a huge fan of the Borderlands franchise, especially because of their humor that they add into the game. But in this video, I wanted to get into topic about the Borderlands 3 developers, mentioning other looter shooters such as like Destiny and The Division, as well as other regular shooters such as like Apex Legends or Titanfall. In a recent interview, PC Games spoke with Borderlands 3 producer Chris Brock about how titles such as Destiny and Titanfall have influenced it. But it was actually stated from him that Chris Brock was actually more surprised that these games haven't cribbed a bit more from us. Now, in case you're wondering what the word cribbed means, it basically just means copying someone else's work. Yeah, I know it's a little different than just simply saying, I'm surprised they didn't copy a bit more from us. The Borderlands franchise was a looting shooting game way before Destiny and The Division ever were. Don't get me wrong, they are some pretty good games, but the Borderlands were way before their time. As you can see here in this article with PC Games, they said, "We spoke to the producer of Borderlands 3 at Gamescom about Gearbox's various competitors, loot shooters such as Destiny or The Division, or other regular shooters such as Titanfall or Apex Legends." Brock, once again the producer of Borderlands 3, confirms that there are things we have learned from those games, specifying that Gearbox needed to understand what they are doing and what works and what doesn't work, before the team could start understanding what we are, being comfortable with the game that we made. So yeah, basically he's mentioning here it's important to understand what's out there and what is currently working in gaming and what currently isn't working, because if they just released just the regular old Borderlands and then just threw it out there, don't get me wrong, it would do great just because it's Borderlands, but it wouldn't last nearly as long if they're not paying attention to their competitors out there and try to intertwine some things that could keep gamers engaged into Borderlands 3. Because once again, the developers just toss out the same old and not paying attention to what's actually working nowadays, it's not going to do as well as it could. And I am very, very excited for Borderlands 3, and I'm hoping the best for it. So this is good news to me, that they're paying attention at what's working and what's not. For instance, what's working nowadays is in-game content. Players love replayability. When we get through the whole game, of course, we still want to do more, we still want to unlock more, we just want to continue playing. So that is one thing Borderlands 3 focused on majorly, making sure that there's replayability after you get through the game. As you can see here, continuing on with this interview with the Borderlands 3 producer, it mentions features that players look at more closely now, such as in-game content, are points that Brock considers something that we should definitely be aware of. He particularly points to Titanfall and Destiny as having wonderful shooting mechanics. Now, he isn't exactly just dogging on these games and saying, they're horrible and we have nothing to worry about. No, he's understanding that there is competition out there and they have more to be worrying about what they're putting out to the community, because this could damage their reputation if it doesn't stand up to the other competitors. He also mentioned that Gearbox had to aim to be at least as good as those two before releasing this game. As you can see here, he said, "We don't want to have a bajillion guns that handle badly." Getting more into this article now, it gets pretty interesting. As you can see here, however, while Brock was happy to note the various influences on Borderlands 3, he was more shocked that those games hadn't been influenced more by the Borderlands series itself. He mentioned, as you can see here in quotes, "There are times that I wondered why some of those other games haven't cribbed more from us." He went on and said, "To me, it's actually really important that I shot, killed that enemy, it dropped loot, it's over there, I can look at that loot and see what it is and pick it up and use it." It feels like if you are a loot-based game, that's very important, which it is. I'm not going to say he's wrong about that at all. There is tons of loot that you can get in Borderlands, but I feel as Borderlands is focused more on their PvE aspect, obviously, rather than their PvP. But hey, we have no idea how exactly Borderlands 3 is going to turn out. They could have introduced some more PvP aspects in their game. After all, there was dueling in the previous ones. They could have upped the ante on that. Who knows? Once again, they're paying attention to their competitors out there and what's working and what isn't. Brock also goes on and talks about the missions in other games and believes that Borderlands often has more imaginative quests, which apparently players agree with. I personally do. We keep hearing from people who say, "We like these unique, bespoke missions that are quirky and weird, and one-off and strange. And we like making those. It's less systemic, it's hard to make a lot of them, but it's worth it." Then at the end of the article, it stated that Borderlands 3 is out on September 13th, and time will tell if other games steal more from it this time. Now that right there is questioning other developers' motives for the future. I mean, hey, it's alright, as long as they're just doing their own twist over it, that's perfectly fine. Because after all, what I wanted to get into next in this video is Borderlands 3 in-game content. Because after all, Borderlands 3 kind of copied other games as well and did their own little twist. That's what I wanted to get into next. Which once again, I think is perfectly fine as long as they're doing their own little creative twist. Borderlands 3 got into topic a little bit about their new in-game content Proving Grounds. Now, essentially this is like Diablo 3's Rifts, if you've ever experienced that, or heck, maybe even a little bit like Prison of Elders in the Destiny franchise. So how exactly you start these Proving Grounds, once again, it's in-game content. These are started from Iridians. You have to go throughout the game and find Iridian writings to enter the Proving Grounds. And once you find these writings, you find coordinates to these other planets once you finally end up deciphering what you exactly found. And these coordinates will lead you to, once again, the Proving Grounds, and once you get there, you'll be able to take a mission from them, and that will initiate the in-game content. And each mission has different objectives in it. Obviously, one thing that doesn't really change is that you have to pretty much kill everything, because that's just how Borderlands rolls. And then it's going to have like optional objectives, such as, don't die, do it in a certain amount of time, or kill a specific thing within the Proving Grounds. Now, you can actually see the optional objectives here. This is footage from the Gamescom event. You're actually seeing a little bit of gameplay of the in-game content, which I think is pretty cool that they showed a little bit of what we're going to be getting to play after we get through the whole game itself. I mean, we could necessarily probably start these before actually completing the whole game, but it's probably not suggested because I have a feeling these are going to be tougher enemies that we have to take on, like typical in-game content. Now, the important thing about doing these optional objectives, by the way, is because the loot will be better after you get through all of this. If you choose not to do the optional objectives, the loot isn't going to be as good, but it's still probably going to be pretty good either way. And actually, there are 6 other Proving Grounds that we get to experience. What you're seeing here is just one of them. Once again, to be able to find these, we have to look around for Iridian writing and get the coordinates to go play these. Once again, there are 6 different ones that we can experience, which is pretty freaking awesome because this is how we're going to be getting some amazing loot. This right here is already replayability content that we're being shown, which is good news. Once again, though, it seems like they were influenced from this content by, like I mentioned, maybe Prison of Elders or the Diablo's Rifts, if you ever experienced that. They are pretty similar. But I feel like this is important for the Borderlands 3 developers to be doing because they got to see, once again, what is working and what isn't. They already mentioned that during the interview that I just went over in the beginning of this video. They are keeping their eye out there, which once again is good news because that means what we're going to be getting is actually going to be replayable and keeping us engaged into the game, and not just wanting to stop after we beat it once or twice or something. And it was mentioned at Gamescom that there is all sorts of in-game. This is just one little sneak peek that we're getting here. Which another in-game content that they mentioned at Gamescom was Guardian Rank. And this is supposed to be like Badass Rank 2.0 if you ever experienced that before. Basically what this is after you get through the end of the story, you unlock these other boosts that you can use. And how you get these is by completing challenges throughout the game, if it's going to work similar to Badass Rank. It was mentioned that it's going to be, so yeah, that's basically how it's going to work. However, in the previous Borderlands, once you unlocked these boosts, they would carry over to your other characters. It was a global progression. I'm not exactly sure how it's going to be working quite yet with the Guardian ranks, but my guess is they're probably not going to be switching that up much. It was, after all, mentioned at Gamescom that the Guardian rank is basically Badass Rank 2.0. And from the looks of it, Guardian rank seems to have 3 different classes of boosts. Starting off with the Enforcer's class, which this provides your damage and fire rate buffs. It also has the Survivor class boosts, which this will increase your health and shield, but also makes second wins easier too. The Hunter class buffs will have an impact on your weapon handling, action skill, and the one that I find most interesting, luck. So I'm assuming that has something to do with better loot. So yeah, to get these boosts, you're going to have to be completing challenges after you get through the end of the story. And once you complete those challenges, you'll get something called Guardian tokens, and that will be used to actually put these boosts on your characters, or character, depending on how exactly they set these up. If it's like the other ones though, it will be for your characters. But yeah, that's about wrapping up this video, everyone. Hope you found this enjoyable, and if you did, consider leaving a like. Your all support is greatly appreciated. And hey, if you're new around here, consider subscribing for tons more Borderlands 3 content. I actually used to make tons of Borderlands 2 content. I don't know if you remember me, some of you might. I'm that dude who crashed in a door for an intro.
Open the door! What's a pop womp in YouTube? Rival gaming here!
Yeah, that was me a long time ago. I'm out here though, everyone. Thanks for taking the time, watching and listening. Until next time, peace.